Recording in progress.
Welcome in to the latest episode of the Betting the Pitch Soccer podcast. I am your host, the real_G Warner, and this is the Champions League episode for match day 4. We are 10-4, 71% year to date. We're going to try to keep that streak alive. What I'm doing this episode is go through all of the Champions League match day 4 matches, going to give out my leans and my favorite plays from Tuesday and from Wednesday. We'll turn that into a Instagram reel at the real_G Warner, a YouTube short at the real_G Warner. And of course, the full episode will be available if you're not live with me late night with the real_G Warner on Monday, November 3rd. You'll get it probably tonight, maybe early in the morning tomorrow on all your social media platforms under the Betting the Pitch Soccer podcast or just Betting the Pitch, because there are plenty of other sports podcasts on this network. We might be doing some more college basketball this year at Big East Bend. Season started tonight. Do have the NFL podcast out with _Schnicker every weekend as well. Recorded Tuesday nights or Wednesday, depending how it is. Should be on Tuesday of this week. And I think it's time for us to get into it. So let's do it. And anyone that hears some audio issues, feel free to shout them out in the chat, and we'll figure out exactly how to fix that. But I think generally the podcasts have gone okay. Also want to shout out new YouTube subscribers. Thank you for coming along. And we'll start on Tuesday. And that's what the first matchup will be. Napoli against Eintracht Frankfurt in the earliest or the lowest of the numbers on the rotation order at BetOnline. So current number, Napoli, 3/4 goal favorite. All the juice. Total is 3, just a little bit more to under. This was Eintracht Frankfurt, a whole full goal of insurance. They've been bet down from that, but I wouldn't be surprised if that number comes back. I think the biggest question about Eintracht is how are they going to defend? It's been a really rough year for them defensively. They've totally been able to score goals for years and years and years, but they've not had as easy of a time defending this year and keeping them out of their net. Fell behind in the opener against Galatasaray at home, scored a bunch of goals. It's a very different situation here, though, on the road at Napoli. So Napoli have not really looked anywhere near as strong as they did to start the season, which is surprising because they spent a ton of money on depth, which they had not had for years. And I'm starting to think that they're really being bothered by playing in Serie A, trying to win that Scudetto as a defending champion, and then also adding in Champions League because they did not have that last season. That was a big reason they separated from Inter later in the season. I think I've seen the Italian Serie A market betting against Napoli a lot. I certainly did against Napoli, their last Champions League match in a brutal loss to PSV Eindhoven. And Napoli were a road favorite in that matchup. So I'm not surprised to see them with this type of valuation in this current matchup on the 4th of November, 2025 against Eintracht Frankfurt. But I think when I look at the total, I don't think I can trust Eintracht Frankfurt defense. And I have not found any success. I know Joe Dollar, one of my longtime Patreon subscribers, patreon.com/real_G Warner. If you want my plays, leans, write-ups across all sports every night to get you ready for the next day. He loves overs and he loves his favorites. I don't know about favorites as much, Joe, but I know he's big into overs, not the unders, because I'm literally rooting for paint dry type of matchups that end 0-0. But this is really not the type of setup I want for Eintracht. They got to figure things out. I need to at least get a full goal of insurance, and I'm not even sure I want that, even though Napoli have certainly been struggling, leaking oil themselves. Staying in the early 12:45 Eastern time, I believe it's like 6:45 across most of Europe. They do have some time zone differences there. We have Slavia Prague hosting Arsenal. Currently, Slavia Prague 1.5 goal underdogs. All the juice on Arsenal away. Total is 2 3/4, and the juice is 2 cents worse. More expensive if you're betting the under. So Slavia Prague, they're going to do everything they can to defend. I saw them, and actually when I got this Roma scarf in the background, if you're watching on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify or on YouTube, feel free to hit the subscribe button on YouTube, 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, and some comments on there would be really great to drive the search rankings. That would be awesome because we've been seeing a ton more people coming in watching all podcasts across the Betting Pitch Podcast Network, and I'm really thankful for that. Still got a long way to go to advertise, so don't worry about that in a long, long time. Trying to figure that out, but doesn't seem like it's really a possibility anytime soon. With all that said, Arsenal, they're going to dominate this game. They're going to force Slavia Prague literally just sit 11 men in their own box, it seems. That's not going to go well for Slavia Prague trying to score a goal to cover the spread. I don't really see that as a really great avenue, but I do think there's a good chance that Arsenal score only 2 goals, so you hit the under. Maybe they get a third, but I'll be certainly waiting to see if we can get under 3 at a decent price. Maybe minus 130 or better would be, I think, a reasonable option. Wouldn't be shocked if we saw the market come in and bet Arsenal under, because they've been doing that a lot of this Champions League campaign and a lot of the season. I just don't really think Slavia Prague have much chance to score, so I much prefer the full game total to the under in that matchup. So I'll go Slavia Prague. I'll play under 2.75 in that matchup. We'll now move to the full window of the rest of the matches on Tuesday. Atletico Madrid hosts Union Saint-Gilloise. Currently, Atleti a 1.75 goal favorite. Slightly more juice on Saint-Gilloise right now. Total's 3.25. Juice very heavily to under. And this is a big test for a Belgian side that have done a ton climbing up all the ladders to get to Champions League. Now they go to Atletico Madrid, who have been playing much better after a really slow start to the season. And honestly, Atleti didn't really even lose that much space, certainly for winning a title with Barcelona and Real Madrid, probably unlikely. And it was going to be anyway. But I think competing for a Champions League place was just what they need to keep Diego Simeone, although I don't think he'll ever leave. All those sort of things are going in the right direction. And my big concern here is that Union Saint-Gilloise, they want to play football. And that's a really tough thing to do on the road at Atleti because you are going to be wide open for counterattacks. And if you get caught, it can go really poorly. And if Atleti score, they're going to try to get more, unlike old Cholo Simeone teams that would just defend. I feel like I should call him Diego for the new style and Cholo for the past. But it's not really a great setup for Union Saint-Gilloise. I think I need 2 goals, and I don't really want much to do with under here. Kind of like Eintracht. I think it's just one of those numbers I'll let pass, even though it's bigger than I made it. Bodo then hosts Monaco as I wear I guess a sort of polo version. I do have another workout kit, but here we are. Monaco, who've been great to me, honestly, in Champions League so far this season. And they're quarter goal underdogs on the road to Bodo Glimt, which is a really tough place to play because it's so far up north in Norway. A long, long trip, though by European standards, it is, but by North American ones, it's certainly not. But with all that said, travel does mean something. Does it mean that Bodo Glimt should be a favorite here? I just can't really agree with that. I'm very wary in Champions League and European competitions of playing clubs from bigger countries that seem to have shady prices. Learned the hard way with that before, and certainly like being on the other side. But Bodo Glimt as a favorite, I think, is too expensive. I certainly don't play favorites. Joe Dollar Hollow, what's up? But I think at this point, there's the total's 3.25, just pretty heavily to over, and it should be that way because Bodo Glimt, why they're in Champions League because they score goals. But that's exactly the way Monaco want to play. I think this is going to be a race to see who can control this game. I expect Monaco's athletes to do it better than Bodo Glimt, who are pretty much Jan Spitahauge, a former Eintracht Frankfurt player who didn't really get on the pitch there, and a small stadium and a crowd and very cold atmosphere. And Monaco have so much depth that it's hard for me to look past it. So I'll lean to the more easy side, I guess, or the more popular one with the bigger name club. But Monaco haven't really been loved in this competition, and I've been profiting from it. So I don't see a reason to get off of it. Juventus then hosts Sporting Lisboa, or Sporting Clube de Portugal. Currently, Juve, half a goal favorite. Almost all the juice on Sporting Lisboa right now. Total is 2.5, juice all the way to over. So Juve used to be a team that could never score, but defended really well. They've completely switched that. I don't think that's a really great strategy for them. I don't think it's been working very well. But Sporting Club de Lisbon or Sporting Club de Portugal have been really, really bad since Ruben Amorim left for Manchester United. They came back against Marseille the last round of these matches in Champions League because Marseille took a second yellow end of the first half, literally diving in the box trying to win a penalty with a lead. One of the dumber things Emerson could have ever done. But I feel like it's not the first time that's happened to me. So I guess I'll try to get past it. Brutal. But I don't think Sporting Lisboa are in a position I want to back them at all. Juve, I don't want to play unders with them anymore. I just really want to fade them, and Sporting Lisboa are not the team to do that for me. So I'll move on to Liverpool hosting Real Madrid. And probably the biggest names matchup of this Champions League match day 4. Currently, Liverpool, a pick'em with all the juice, totals 3.5, juice all the way to under. So I saw Real Madrid favored with pretty similar price earlier this week. Clearly, the market has changed its mind and has made Liverpool now the favorite. I still think there's value on the home team, though, at pick'em. It's really hard to go to Anfield. Real Madrid, yes, they brought in Xavi Alonso, certainly played for Liverpool before, is rumored to potentially take that head coaching job, all these sort of things. I don't know that Xavi Alonso is as great of a manager as it looked like when he was at Leverkusen way back when, and they went undefeated for 51 matches in a row or something. But I think there's some truth that potentially he has either unleashed Kylian Mbappe, or maybe Mbappe is a lot more used to playing in Madrid after being in Paris for so long. I don't know how that, I mean, he lives a very posh lifestyle, so I can't imagine it's that different. And I'm sure he speaks all the languages fine. But I think Liverpool at Anfield, I could never look another direction if they were a pick 'em at home. So that's my interest there. I think Real Madrid, I mean, I'm just not a believer in Xavi Alonso. I don't believe in Real Madrid overall. They have such great players. There's probably a lot of potential the Champions League final rematch. I'm sure there's a lot of disappointed people on the Liverpool side of things. This is going to be a big match for them because they've not been playing well. I don't love buying teams when they're at their when they're struggling, but at low valuation versus peak is certainly where I'd like to get in, and definitely the more of an investing strategy. So Liverpool at Pick'em, most interested. Under 3.5 is a little bit interesting because both of these teams are pretty proud, and I think we'll see Real Madrid go on the road and defend. But I think we can see goals. I don't know that Champions League is really a spot for the unders as much as I hate that, unless you're playing a team that's going to defend the whole time and can look capable doing it. Move next to Olympiacos. They're hosting PSV Eindhoven, speaking of, who are a big winner on last match day's show. Jerry's Poker Vlog. I'm big on Real Madrid. I'd love to hear a little bit more why you think that, Jerry, but appreciate you coming on and seeing you live. They've certainly been playing well, but I think there's a time to potentially buy Liverpool. It might be now. So Olympiacos, pick them right now with more juice to PSV Eindhoven. Totals 2.75, juice pretty heavily to over right now. So Olympiacos are Greek side that been Greek champions for a long time. Jose Luis Mendilibar plays a high line, tried it against Barcelona or just got eviscerated anyway. Maybe it didn't matter. But PSV Eindhoven are coming in. They don't have their home crowd behind them, and that's a really big concern. Now, there's more juice in the home team. I don't know if PSV Eindhoven will move to an underdog like they were at home to Napoli, especially after that great performance. They put 6 by the Napoli goalkeeper. So, and Vanya Milinkovic-Savic doesn't give up 6 goals in 6 months, it feels like, when he was at Torino at least. But Olympiacos, they've got some names, people that were in the Premier League, so pretty popular and known, but I think Eindhoven's the only way I could lean. I don't have anything that I really want to do with the total here. Pretty high scoring game, potentially projected, and I could certainly see that. I think Eindhoven as underdog is where I'm looking. I don't have that yet. Moving next to PSG, hosting Bayern München. Certainly gives Real Madrid and Liverpool a run for their money on that one. But PSG, a pick'em, a little bit more juice, 2 cents of that at home to Bayern. Total is 3.5, and it's just more to the under. Total feels really small to me. Both these teams will certainly be doing all out to try to score goals here. There's no pride in defending in this one, or one team that's going to dominate this game, I don't think, which certainly benefits Bayern München, as that's something that they're used to. But PSG, yes, they had a forward striker crisis earlier in the season, and they still beat Barcelona on the road. So should be a really great matchup. Probably another very expensive ticket in the Parc des Princes in Paris. But Bayern have been great, and I haven't faded them a lot this season. I think that's part of why we're at 56% or so of what I've caught up on so far, 71% on our best bets on these shows so far. But PSG, I mean, they feel really cheap at home. I don't know that they shouldn't be, because it's a really tough team coming in, Bayern, and I'm not at all slighting them or saying that they're bad or something like that. But I think there's a lot more talent in PSG, and they continue to look to be undervalued in Europe, maybe because of the Farmers League they play in, as everyone in England likes to say. But I think there's value on PSG right now at Pick'em. Last but not least, on Tuesday, before I get you an ultimate best bet, and then we'll move to Wednesday and compare, contrast, and see which one we like best to grade ourselves by. Tottenham Hotspur, 1.25 goal favorites at FC Copenhagen. Totals 2.75, just a little bit more to under, and a lot more to the Copenhagen side. So Copenhagen have been playing pretty competitively. I'm not sure they've been getting the results they deserve in Champions League. Should have beaten Leverkusen at home, then lost to Dortmund, and were missing a lot of players. This is one of the more important need to see lineups type of setups here. I don't know that we'll get enough information until the hour before, and then it's a crazy run, especially when I'm sitting in an office. I think Tottenham are, they've been hated by markets across any league they play in, whether it's the Carabao Cup or in the English Premier League of late. So clearly there's some problems there. I think that's a reflection on how they've been playing. Thomas Frank, I believe in, but this is a different stage for him. Certainly never been in Europe before, I don't think, at least not with Brentford when I've been most familiar with him. Copenhagen, it really depends on how healthy they are. I'll lean to Copenhagen right now, FCK, but we need to see a healthy lineup, especially against the talent and depth that a expense-heavy English Premier League club will have. I think at this point, it's probably unlikely that'll make it to the list. So on Tuesday, before we move to Wednesday, I'll give my best bet. I'll go with PSG, a pick 'em at home. I think they're playing better than Liverpool, though that certainly almost made the list. Monaco are, of course, of interest, and so are Slavia under. Probably not Eintracht Frankfurt, but we'll move to Wednesday. Thank you all for, of course, listening to the first college basketball podcast on the pregame.com podcast network with that Big East Ben. He gave out his top 10, the Big East Ben top 10, and we're hoping to do a bunch of shows this season. And if we have more content than wants to be purchased, we will certainly try to move that onto this network on the Betting the Pitch podcast network presented by Pregame. Nope, not that actually. No, not that one. Anyway, it's late. I was looking around because I think my computer's about to die. So let's start with Wednesday now with a commercial break that probably would be inserted by most companies, but not here. You're in on the ground floor. Let's move to Paphos hosting Villarreal. Currently, Paphos 1.25 goal underdogs at home with a little bit more juice. Total is 3, just pretty heavily to under. And this is the big question: is how much will Villarreal dominate this game? They've been working this year to play a more counterattacking style, which I think is what Marcelino has done, and he was not playing it last year. Scored a bunch of goals, got into Champions League, so things worked. But it's pretty surprising to see him kind of change his stripes last season. But I'm happy to see him going back to where he is. And I think he's in a better position to see more success with his team that way. Paphos are going to defend like crazy. I think that's the only really way I could lean here because I don't play road favorites, especially not laying more than a goal. I'm concerned that Paphos' defense will not be good enough, though, no matter what. So that's a big concern. Probably skip that first of the early window. And we get another early window. Karabag of Azerbaijan. They're hosting Chelsea. Currently, Karabag 1.5 goal underdogs. A little bit more juice on Chelsea. Total is 3, just all the way to over. So Karabag, I mean, they've been really competitive. Started out, I believe, with 2 wins in this competition, which was certainly not expected. Things kind of came back to earth a little bit, and now they get Chelsea, and that's a big, big problem. Chelsea are oozing with talent. I've spent probably $1 billion more than Karabag have on transfers in the last couple of years. And I don't know that there's much for me here that I want. So I'll move on to Ajax and Galatasaray. And this is in the big window of matches on Wednesday. Ajax quarter goal underdogs with all the juice on Galatasaray right now away from home, which is a bit of surprise. Total is 3.25, juiced a little bit more to under. And Galatasaray have been playing well. They've spent a ton of money. Victor Osimhen's great. And there's a lot of awesome players in Galatasaray that we all know. Ajax are rebuilding, but they will have a huge Dutch crowd behind them. And Galatasaray have been, I mean, they're part of a Turkish league, the Super League, that have just not defended in Europe for a long time. So I'll lean to Ajax quarter goal underdog at home. Benfica then hosts Bayer Leverkusen. Currently, Benfica 0.5 goal favorites. All the juice on Leverkusen away. Total is 2.75, just pretty heavily to over right now, almost all the way. And this is a setup where Benfica used to be a great defense, counterattacking side, and I thought that was the best way for them to succeed. Brought a new sporting director from Germany. That didn't work out. A lot of other things have not worked either. And I think some of their best players have not been as great, though they've kept on and held on to a lot of them. But Otamendi's been playing way more minutes than I think anyone expected over years now. Leverkusen have been a team I've wanted to be against. Kasper Hjulmand, I believe, if I'm right on that one. Whatever, the former Danish national team head coach, came back to the German Bundesliga, took over Leverkusen after 2 matches of Erik ten Hag getting blasted. And I've been really impressed with what they've done. They've certainly throttled back their spending on their squad, certainly nowhere near as strong as it has been in the past, but they've been playing really well. And I think the only way I could lean this one, of course, is the underdog. But I think there's some value in Leverkusen, though we could see a high-scoring match. That definitely makes me less interested in the road underdog. Moving next to Club Bruges, hosting Barcelona. Currently, Bruges 1.25 goal underdog, slightly more juice on the home team. Total is 3.75, just very heavily to under. Barca, I just don't trust the high line. It seems like it's been figured out. Different because Bruges don't get to play it twice a season, but La Liga has figured it out. And if La Liga does, there's certainly enough tape on it. And Barcelona have not been impressive this year so far. Bruges, on the other hand, they spend a lot of money for a Belgian side. Good to have 2 Belgian clubs in here with Union Saint-Gilloise as well, already talked about. But I think Bruges have proven they can compete. I love seeing that they could lose by a full goal at home and you still win some money, half your bet at 1.25. But I'll be waiting to see if Barcelona money comes in. I'm not interested in under there. Moving next to Inter, hosting Kairat Almaty, in the smallest club to somehow make it to Champions League, and they've certainly looked like it so far. But Inter are 3.25 goal favorites with more juice, total 4.25, juice all the way to under. I just don't know that Kairat can defend enough. Inter could certainly name their score here. I think they'd probably keep a clean sheet, so maybe a team total under in Kairat. I don't know that I'm playing anything like that. 3 matches left to go, and then we'll get an ultimate best bet. 71% so far this season. Manchester City, 1.25 goal favorites, all the juice to Borussia Dortmund. Total 3.25, juice more to the over. So Dortmund are going to go on the road and try to defend. They do that in Champions League. They don't do it in the Bundesliga because they want to win every match and try to somehow find a way to win the Meisterschale, which they won't. I think I'm pretty comfortable in saying that. But Manchester City has been playing a lot better lately. Seeing them favored by more than a goal is saying something. But I'll lean to Dortmund getting 1.25 goals and potentially getting 1.5 before kickoff based on where the juice is now. Total is not for me in this one, even though I do think Dortmund will defend. Marseille then hosts Atalanta. Marseille, quarter goal favorites with all the juice. Totals 2.75, juice more to the over. Olympique de Marseille are a great home team. They got a big crowd, but Atalanta have been really impressive to me so far. And I think when they're an underdog, that is where we want to back Ivan Juric. He's great at possessing the ball. He's taken on fairly well. They've surprised me of how well Atalanta have played so far this season. Not a lot of goals, but that's certainly one of Juric's tenets, and he will certainly defend more. So Atalanta getting 1/4 goals of interest. Would love to see them getting more than that. I don't know that I want to play anything until we get under 3, as Marseille have high scoring potential and high scoring games. But I think Atalanta as an underdog can potentially win on the road in a really tough place to play. Last but not least, before we get to ultimate best bets, Newcastle 1-goal favorites with all the juice right now at home to Athletic Club Bilbao. Totals 2.5, juice all the way to over, so potentially moving to 1.25 and 2.75. We're getting to a spot where Athletic Club that they are getting extremely undervalued. I mean, it's been an awesome start to the season that then completely fell off, a lot due to the injuries to Iñaki Williams and Nico Williams. They need those brothers out there if we're going to trust them to score goals. If they're not there, then going to St. James's Park is going to be a lot harder. Then they're pretty much a bunch of defensive players or counterattackers, and they don't have the pace like the Williams brothers possess. Newcastle are great at home, really scary to fade there, but when they're more than a goal favorite or even a goal favorite, I think that adds some value. Totals are tough to play under because Newcastle can score at home, but they're not really built to score. I think they're a really good road underdog to back, but this feels very, very expensive, though it certainly reflects how much Bilbao have been struggling. Lean to the 1-goal underdog, Athletic Club Bilbao coming over from Bilbao. But the total, I mean, the higher it gets, I like it more. I don't know if I want anything besides maybe hitting 3, but we'll see if it gets there. And now it's time for the ultimate best bet. Don't think we've seen any more comments. Thanks, Jerry's Poker Vlog, for coming in. Appreciate that big time. Also want to shout out the new YouTube subscribers because that is what we do here on the Betting the Pitch Podcast Network. I saw we got up to 212, the New York City area code from way back when. And we got a new subscriber, Mike Brown. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate that. And nice cigar in your photo, I gotta say. So it's time to do it. Let's get into it. And got to mention the dirty sheets for subscribing on YouTube. I don't know what that could possibly mean, but I'm thankful for it. From Tuesday, I gave out PSG Pick'em as my favorite bet. I haven't given out anything for Wednesday, so might as well list that out there. And I think it comes down between right now the Borussia Dortmund and Atalanta. And I got to say, Atalanta seem very interesting, but I'm going to actually switch it up and go Ajax, 1/4 goal underdogs at home as my best bet from Wednesday. But it's time for the ultimate best bet. We're 10-4 and 1 push. So 71.4% so far this season. And our best bet on this episode, I think, is as simple as playing a home team that deserves a look. And that's PSG. Paris Saint-Germain. I pick them at home to Bayern Munich. It's going to be a tough matchup. Certainly a high risk that this will land on pick 'em, and that's why I play the Asian handicaps, as they're called, instead of the 3-way lines, because I don't want to lose on a push. And I think it's a lot of value here on pick 'em right now on the Parisian defending Champions League champions. Say that 2 times fast, and also Ligue 1. They've been struggling in Ligue 1, not off to a dominant start so far this season. But I think this price is right. So PSG, a pick 'em for the best bet on this match day 4 episode of the UEFA Champions League. We'll be back on Wednesday with the Europa League and maybe a little Conference League. I did watch a lot more of it from their last match day. Probably not, unless there's some good matchup. And then, of course, the NFL podcast with Andrew Schnicker will be out on this network, Betting the Pitch, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and at the Real_G Warner on YouTube. And then, of course, the college football podcast with Lante will be out on pregame.com tomorrow, most likely. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great evening. Let's win some money.
Recording stopped.